Buongiorno a tutti, benvenuti al Parlamento europeo. È con grande piacere che vi porgo a nome di tutti i deputati, mio personale, il benvenuto nella nostra aula, anche se in una modalità diversa, nuova, inedita. Voglio ringraziare il programma Euroscola per il suo impegno, per incoraggiare voi giovani a parlare di Europa, ad esprimere la vostra opinione sulla democrazia europea, sui diritti fondamentali, sui nostri valori comuni e su tutte le tematiche che vi stanno a cuore. Stiamo vivendo una situazione straordinaria, inaspettata, che ci ha condotto in questi mesi a prendere delle decisioni senza precedenti, ad adeguare i nostri strumenti, a definire delle nuove politiche che corrano di pari passo con le esigenze e le necessità di tutti i cittadini europei. La democrazia non può essere sospesa, soprattutto nel mezzo di una crisi drammatica come questa. Il vostro incontro oggi ne è la prova palese. È un grande piacere vedere tanti ragazzi, tanti giovani come voi che si interessano all'Europa, che dedicano il loro tempo, le loro energie, il loro cuore a sostegno di un'Europa più forte, unita, solidale. Oggi, con gli strumenti e i fondi messi a disposizione dall'Unione, abbiamo la possibilità di progettare quella nuova Europa, un'Europa che sia più equa, più verde, più digitale, proiettata verso il futuro. Ed è essenziale che voi siate gli attori chiave, perché tante sfide attendono proprio voi, le nuove generazioni. Ed è nostro dovere sentire il peso sulle spalle fin da subito di queste vostre necessità.
Today, 70 schools and about 2,200 students from 22 different countries all over Europe are actively participating.
It's going so fast. We have over 100 participants on Slido right now.
Yeah, but we also have Hungary, Croatia, Denmark, Cyprus, and I see Spain. We have a nice mix of European countries represented today here in this hemicycle.
And I've seen Malta, which is, of course, a pleasure for Vice President Roberta Metsola. That's her home country. She's from Malta. So welcome to everybody from Malta.
During the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, the Republic of Croatia, as well as most other member states of the European Union, limited the freedom of movement of its citizens, preventing travel from region to region or even from city to city. According to Article 3, Paragraph 2 of the Lisbon Convention, freedom of movement is a basic human right. We would like to know whether these decisions violate human rights and bring into question the credibility of the European Union.
How can the European Union contribute for a deeper knowledge about human rights and citizenship, as well as the development of more responsible and participative citizens?
Hello, my name is Vasile. Dear Ms. Roberta Metsola, many people in Bulgaria lost their jobs due to the pandemic. The government hasn't provided enough unemployment benefit for all. What should all those employed people do in this case? Thank you.
Thank you for that excellent question. Yes, many thousands have lost their jobs during the pandemic. That is going to be one of our biggest challenges in the months to come. But the European Parliament, from the very beginning of this pandemic, pushed to make sure that that more money than ever was allocated to make sure that countries can recover. There will be a period of very difficult economic hardship. There will be a period when we think that this is going to take longer than we think. There are already countries, as we saw this week in Italy, where there's a very big national debate as to where that money will go, how that money will be spent, and who will eventually be able to benefit of that money. And just like in Italy, your government in Bulgaria will also need to present what we call a national plan of how you are going to make sure to target that unemployment, how you are going to make sure that students like you, once you finish school, find a job, and find a job that you like, and find a job that you have worked so hard to get. And there, the European Parliament is very, very, let's say, strict, because we will be seeing all these national plans, and we will be ensuring, including in your country, that that national plan includes the situation of tackling unemployment, tackling those sectors of society and other parts. We didn't mention the cultural areas yet, the cultural sectors yet. We haven't mentioned those sectors that we have realized that are not paid well enough, those sectors that we have realized have been completely forgotten by governments during the last few months. They were already doing badly before the pandemic, let alone now. So there, the European Parliament, until the end of next month, will be looking through all the national plans, including the one presented by your government, to make sure that your government is going to address precisely the question that you have raised. But there, again, it's over to you. You need to ask that question not only to me as the Vice President of the European Parliament, but also to your local politicians, to your members of parliament, to your Prime Minister, and ask him, Mr. Prime Minister, what are you going to do to make sure that people like me find a job, that those people who lost their job will not be left out in the cold?
Arthur writes, "Dear Vice President, I want to know that how and when do you see the end of this pandemic?" And then we have a question from Nagia, who says, "Why can't Europe make gay marriage legal in every member state?" We have a question from Matteo, which was already upvoted 162 times. Matteo wants to know, how would you improve the relationship between schools and companies to create an easily accessible system?
Thank you, Matteo, for this. I think much, much more needs to be done. We focus a lot on schools, yes. We focus on making sure that companies will survive this pandemic, but we don't focus on the bridge between the students who are being taught the subjects and the companies that will need to employ those students. Sometimes I feel that the subjects we learn in school don't give us the right tools to be able to survive in the world. Sometimes I feel that there is a big gap between what you learn and what is needed when you start to work. So I think that we need to do more, and we need here again to push our local decision makers to make sure that the companies have a say in what they expect from the students that will soon graduate and be looking for a job. That the ministers for education in each country don't not only focus on whether the students pass their exams or not, but whether those students are being equipped with the right tools to survive in today's world. Today's world is not like it was many years ago, when you would have a few jobs. It was either, you'd be a lawyer, a doctor, or an architect, and if you were a man, if you were a woman, you would not be doing any of those jobs. But then you would find yourself with companies that are looking for people with talents that don't exist. Today, for example, you have companies that need to look outside the European Union to make sure that they fill the spots in their companies. Why are we not doing that in our homes? Why are we not making sure that if you, Matteo, would like to excel in a particular sector, then you will find a job? Why are we not making sure, or is your school not making sure, that if you want to do a particular job, that there will be a job that you can, a spot that you can find in a company when you graduate or when you finish school? One suggestion to me for you, of course, would be to engage in different types of jobs when you are out of school, once you turn into a working age, once you achieve working age, because that, for example, speaking from a personal experience, gave me a much broader experience than if I simply had gone straight from university to my main job. And so I did everything growing up. I remember I sold ice creams, I worked as a bank, I taught students, I worked with communities that needed support in summer. I would spend all my summers doing that because I wanted to make sure that I chose the career that I wanted to do. Now, of course, I didn't know I was going to be in politics, but I wanted to make sure that I do something that I love. And that's ultimately the most important thing, that you work towards finding something that you love to do and make a job around it. You know, you could always find the possibility to have a gainful employment, gainful income with something that you do, with the talents that you have, which could be special, which could be untapped, which could be unexplored. And that would be something that I will actually, thank you, Matteo, for this, push for also to bridge precisely that gap between schools and companies.
Yes, we have another idea from Timothée. He says, fight against climate change. And I think that raises a very interesting question. Is there a fundamental right for climate protection?
Je peux essayer de répondre. Oui, oui, bien sûr.
I'll try to answer that question. In the Charter of Fundamental Rights, there's an article, Article 37, which covers environmental protection. And I explained at the beginning why we needed a European Charter of Fundamental Rights, which is far more modern, if you'll permit me saying this, than the European Convention on Human Rights. So the European Charter of Fundamental Rights does indeed uphold our right to protect the environment. And as the EU has done in the past, and it continues to do this now, it is creating a sense of awareness of the need to protect the environment. The EU has certain powers in this field, and the EU has been adopting legislation and other instruments which will oblige member states to comply with EU rules designed to protect the environment. The purpose of these rules is to ensure that we do more and act more efficiently to protect the environment, and that includes the fight against climate change. Here, once again, the European Union is very much in advance, very much ahead of other states and other parts of the world. The EU is a leader, and it provides an excellent example of what we need to do to fight against climate change.
On a une idée de Léo qui dit, oui, the EU has to make data protection and data privacy a top priorities in the EU, so all citizens can be sure that their data, personal data, images and other is not abused. I think, Mr. Puya, this is a question for you.
Merci, je vous remercie pour cette question.
Thank you for the question. I agree entirely. And I would add, this is what the institutions of the European Union have been striving to do. In terms of legislation, where the Parliament, the Council and the Commission have all been working hard, but also at the judicial or legal level. So, in the European Court of Justice, we are now being faced with a series of cases pertaining to the way in which Facebook, for example, processes private data, Google. So this really is something which the EU authorities are monitoring closely. As I explained beforehand, if you want to access a website, you have to give your consent. You think you're just ticking a random box, but in fact, that actually is part of an enormous process of data processing, and all too often users haven't been properly informed about it. So I don't want to go into detail, but there is a case pending at the Court of Justice which I'm dealing with, which is about the way in which Facebook deals with cookies, and I'm talking about all the companies in the Facebook group. As you know, Facebook has other platforms than Facebook itself. So, for example, one of the aspects we're looking at is the way in which you can use likes. We've realized that if you like something on Facebook, even if you don't have a Facebook account, a cookie is lodged on your computer or on the user profile, which then collects data about the user. So it's important that people, students, are fully aware of the need to give informed consent. You just shouldn't click accept so as to access the service. You do have to think about what you're doing, and you do have to read what you're consenting to. At the legislative level, we can adopt as many rules as we want. But ultimately, it's important that users have a sense of personal responsibility about the way in which they use these services and consent.
I will use the official words of the Parliament. President, normally sitting in this chair, the vote is open.
Yes, now it's up to you. You have the chance to shape this event with us.
Yeah, it's a tight race, but we can see that for the moment the idea of climate change is leading, but we have some more seconds to go, so you can keep on voting. Okay, we have a couple of seconds still to go, but I think we can almost say that we have a winner.
Yes, yeah, it's clear. The vote is closed now. It's closed now, and we see the winner. The winner is the EU should fight against climate change.
Thanks to all of you for having participated. Thanks for your great ideas. I could see them coming up, you know, when you're talking about also how can the EU interact more with the European Union, and how can the European Union interact more with us as students. We got the point that, of course, as for so many Euroscholars, you have the climate change as being the #1 priority. I can tell you we share that in this parliament. And I can also tell you that all of this that I have taken with me today, I will share with my colleagues and also make sure that we feed into the big process that we are going into this year, which is preparation for the conference on the future of Europe. This happens every 2 decades or so. So the last time it happened was a long time ago. It's time again to look at the fundamental principles, to look at where we can improve. And with these ideas, we can continue to do that. I'd like to finish by asking you to encourage your friends in your classes, in other schools, your people, your cousins in your family, everybody, to participate in events like this in Euroscola. Because as you can see, what you have heard today from your peers in other countries, you can also do. You can really be the change that matters. So thank you very much, and I hope one day to meet you in person, and I hope that I can get to visit all your countries and talk to you in person. So thank you.